What's going on, everyone? It's Zooko here. Today I have here for you guys MechaBreak. It's a new game that's catching some traction, and with a ninja design, Stellaris was bound to attract attention. Sadly though, 99% of people aren't playing Stellaris correctly. But don't worry, after this video you'll know optimal movement, kill combos, retreats, engages, and counterplay to never have to struggle again with this character. Stellaris has some very useful abilities with very short cooldowns, so he's designed to always be using them. These skills mostly require lock-on, so they force a lot of enemies to use resources early, which applies even more pressure with your short cooldowns, but it also means there's a skill gap with this character. Most people are playing Stellaris like an attack spammer like Welkin, but he's actually more like Narukami, burst damage within viz and great range. With the ability to harass, displace, and stun lock flyers, mobile characters, brawlers, and healers, he's always valuable. However, he's not just a hit and run character. He can actually stay in the fight with his invis and do insane burst damage to high priority targets or displace them, forcing tanks who wants to stay still to actually have to move. Being that he only does physical damage, fluid armor and some shields don't even matter, so your pressure is always good across the board. Some Stellarises overstay their welcome or don't respect the enemy utility, like playing too close to an enemy panther. After this video, you'll know exactly how to have 100% uptime and outdamage everyone in the lobby while also having the least amount of debt so you can get all of those MVPs. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. I would highly recommend before we get started to have a high sensitivity, and then you're going to need to have your aux 1, 2, and 3 on these key buttons. This is scroll up, this is scroll down, and this is a mouse button. Stellaris is a combo based character. He was designed to constantly be applying pressure to the enemy, so because of that, all of his primary fires and his ult stagger the enemy, which means that it forces them to use an evade in order for them to break away from his damage. So your first one that you have is going to be your primary ult. This is meant to chase the enemy. It puts you directly above them, which allows you to go into some of your unparryable attacks if you're going against other brawlers as well, or just put them in lengthier staggers because not all staggers are created equal. Now your second one is going to be primary ult. This is your damage dealer. It's not committal, so you always want to go for it. This is essentially the thing that you want to go for always. You can animation cancel this whenever you want. Now you have primary ult. Now your third primary hits twice, so you can do primary, and then alt. And that one's mainly used for AoE. Now your alt fire. Your alt fire can be fired at up to a maximum range of 370 meters, but I wouldn't ever actually recommend being this far out for lock on, because when you hit them, it actually does move them back just a little bit. So I would recommend being around 364 if you're trying to make sure that you always land all of these hits. This is essentially though your max range, 370 meters. So this means all of your abilities even can land from out here, and all of your even your boost attacks will chase them from this far out. Again, a lot of people are playing them so close. I want you to think of this as the range that you have to work with. But your primary doesn't just stagger them, but it knocks them back, separate from your ult. Your ult staggers them, but it doesn't knock them back. This means that your primaries are technically the better staggers for you to go for, since they're not created equal. So longer staggers means more time for you to set up something else. Boost attacks are technically really good at chasing down a target, but they waste a lot of your energy. You want to be at around the 170 mark, somewhere around there, because if you do it a dash, you can go immediately into your primary, and it will always allow for you to get the attack without you having to do a boost. Now technically speaking, your max range for a melee attack that is not going to give you a boost is 150 meters. As you can see, you go straight into attack. Now if I do it at the same range but 151, I actually get a boost, you see, which actually slows down the attack. This is the same for your alt fire. You can technically be at 410 meters, you can dash and then still lock on to actually track them. One thing to note is that if you hold down your primary, your attacks do come out faster, so that's important versus just tapping them. Remember how we talked about your primary alt can be animation canceled? All of your primary fires can be animation canceled, so you can actually do primary animation canceled into alt, which will give you basically one attack straight into that burst damage. It's not only good for that, but it's also good for feinting, because you can do your primary and then hold alt, which allows you to go straight into your parry, so you can kind of feint and then immediately go into your next attack. Or if you're going against one of your counters and you don't really want to be too close to them because their moves become very unreactable, dash alt, so you can just hold down your left shift and then throw out your alt. Now this does waste a lot of your energy, however this is a very good way to make yourself mobile while you're also doing an insane amount of damage. So instead of always doing primary into alt, you can also do hold alt into primary. Now timing wise, it might be difficult to release it and then go straight into your primary at the right time, so one thing you can do is just hold down your primary. So you hold alt and then you hold primary. One thing you can do to make this a little bit easier, you can actually hold your alt and then dash evade, and then go straight into your primary. Since the closer that you are, the easier it is for them to get out of your lock on. You always kind of want to be dashing to the side of them. Yes, it does use a little bit more of your stamina, but stamina is something that you can always get away with moving to the side, you know. That way you're not just always in front of them where you can take all of their damage. Now something that you can do just to kind of like style on people or whatever is you can melee like so. And that's basically me doing my primary dash, primary dash, primary dash. This is used to basically psych out your opponents and make yourself really hard to hit. It doesn't cost as much stamina, but it makes it to where you're literally a blur. This is one of those things that you can do in order to make yourself really, really hard to hit. Technically, you always want to get used to doing this. And it'll make you very, very scary. Now let's talk about one of your most important attacks. It's going to be your jump primary. This is your unparryable attack. This is very good. And if you're wanting to use it in a little bit more of a team-based format to where it makes sense, you can do jump this and then do left shift jump left shift jump primary. And this is extremely aggressive, and it's very good at, again, just keeping pressure on them because it chases very well. You can actually do melee jump melee, and it'll still track them even though you're not looking, so you can like track it where you think they're going to go. And another thing that you have is you can actually do your melee attack. You can jump up and then hit your alt. This allows for you to chase if you think they're going to run away from you. So one of your bread and butter sort of like engagement tools is just this to this and to jump. So another unparryable. That's just very aggressive. If you want to make this just a little bit more like pressure based, you can do alt melee, melee, alt melee. And this does a lot much more damage. Remember how we talked about this is very good at tech chasing, right? So again, whether this primary hit lands or it doesn't need to. You can simply just throw out the boost and then track them with your alt. Remember, there's different variants. So again, alt primary, alt keeps you kind of in their face. Alt primary, dash back, alt. Now, since we talked about all the basic things, let's get into your actual movement stuff. This allows you to disengage rather really easily, like so. I'm doing a melee hit, I'm doing a side dash, and then I'm hitting my alt fire. And this allows for you to tech chase very easily. If you actually want to land this hit, you can actually go right back into them, like so. This is not just good for just movement. This is good for breaking their LOS. Just all kind of crazy good tech, and it's just great for tech chasing. And that's me doing a little bit more side, but if you want to go a little bit more up, you can as well. If you're not holding forward, you won't get this one. So one thing that I do is, like, let's say I hit this melee here, and then I see the second one's going to miss, so they're already running away. I'm going to do left shift, jump, left shift, and then hit them with the alt. Now let's talk about your grapple. One of the most useful abilities that you have because it allows for you to get to the target without you having to waste a bunch of energy to do so, which is very important for your kit. On top of this, whenever you first put it on them, like so, it'll make it to where they're slowed down and they can't dash very well. And then you do it again, it'll bring you straight to them, and this does a lot of damage. You displace them, they're stuck in that animation, they can't get out, and then at the very end it staggers them as well. So this is very good to do into combos. Do it again, hold melee, or you do it and you keep it on them, it still stays on them, so their movement is still going to be slow. They're still going to have their evasion kind of basically reduced. This means that you always want to engage with this to guarantee that you can kill that target. Your sword drones are very useful because it bypasses everything. So again, for the characters that have a lot of shields, or they have a lot of things, especially in your 1v1 scenarios, say if you're going to get a panther, you're going to want to spam as many of these sword drones on them because it makes it where they still take damage that goes through all of the other stuff. It doesn't do an insane amount of damage, but it does add up. Whenever you use your grapple twice, so use it once and then use it again, if you break LOS, it allows for you to use it again, because whenever you actually have it on them, it will stay on them until that timer is gone. So sometimes you don't want to be that close, right? See, I can't use it again because this is still on, but if I break LOS purposefully and then relock on, I can immediately use it. This allows for you to put on one of your drones and then do this, break LOS, and then do another one, bing 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 bing. Your invis is very unique because if you press it and then you immediately press it again, it'll cancel and then you'll have like a 1-second cooldown. The longer that you actually let this sit out, the longer that you're going to have to deal with a longer cooldown. From my experience, you don't want to sit in this very long. If you want to apply the most amount of pressure, you need to always have this available, not only for your own safety net because it's how you break away from staggers, but also just to again make yourself invis. One of my favorite things to use the invis for is to actually like make my engagements not be telegraphed, because if you constantly just go at someone like this, they can read that, they can parry that. You can do this straight into your invis and then dash out and then immediately cancel your invis. Again, it puts a lot of pressure on them, but you can also do like this, right? And why this isn't good is because after you do this attack, your invis, and it allows for you to make that next unparryable attack completely invisible until you actually hit them. Because one of the unique things about your invis is that it doesn't actually break your invis until the active frames start, and it goes invis again the moment that the active frames end, which means again, if you do like this, that whole attack is in, and you see how you're immediately invis again. So this means if you know for a fact that an attack is going to leave you uninvis for a very long time, for example your combo one, you don't want to be wasting your invis time. Just go ahead and cancel it. So again, now you can have it again. So anything that can animation cancel, right, you can now basically make it to where completely invis, right? Now I'll save the best for last. Let's talk about your combos. You're always going to want to start off with your grapple. So you grapple, alt fire, drone, alt fire, dash in, one more time, and it'll be that fast. Now if you want to make yourself invis before you do it, this is actually nice, because as you can see, you go invis the moment that it's time for that combo to start again. Anytime after you land this, you are guaranteed that next hit, basically this into this. Your second combo is going to be basically the same sort of startup here. So you're going to do this into alt fire to drone, alt fire again, and then drone, and then pull in. So if you're wanting to play more of a range game, so again, bing, 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 bing. Go again, bing, 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 and then bing, 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 bing. Now doing this from max range, it'll look like this. You do have the variation to just kind of get onto them and then dive in like so. Now the combos that work against tanks, not just for displacement, but just puts them pretty low. Again, this is one of the tankiest ones in the game. Scroll up, you're going to do your ult, you're going to do your drones, do another ult, and then you're going to dive in. Break LOS, do melee, ult, and you're going to do the drones again. You're going to do this, do drones again, and then go back into it, melee, ult. It'll look a little bit something like this. Now if you want something that's pretty repeatable, that's not too extensive on the inputs, you can just do grapple, drone, melee, grapple, right? And you can break LOS and then do grapple, drone, melee, grapple. If they're at a very long range, then you probably won't be able to get the melee in, so you might as well just do the alt fire as fast as possible. And if I had to give you one last tip here, it'll be to just make sure you use your invis to make your next move unreactive. So you do this, you now come in here and then go out of there like so. You always want to be very far away from your target, just because think of it again as your reticle size that you can lock on with is always going to be the same. So the further you are away, the easier it is to track them. Now you don't have nearly as much room to work with, right? So again, being far away actually makes you play a lot much more consistent, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, man, that's everything that I have for you guys. Remember your engagement, your combos, your retreats, and to play at a range with advantage. Take damage on your terms. If you forget or need a reminder, then like this video, save it, and share it. You're playing the mecha that breaks the game. Zooko out. Peace.